y'all. Welcome to the Dosage of Drea show. I'm your host, Drea. This is episode 1, and today's dose is working in retail while being a college student. I have 2 guests here today to help me discuss this topic and give y'all this dose of working retail and being a college student. Victoria and Marquise. Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
My name is Victoria. I'm a college graduate of Notre Dame College with my Bachelor's of Arts in Human Resource Development. I graduated in 2019.
My name is Marquise. I currently attend Youngstown State University. I am a first-year junior, and my major is information technology with a focus in e-commerce.
So for this episode, well, let me give you a little introduction. So my name is Andrea. I'm a journalism student right now at Cleveland State University. I've been working on this show for a little, like almost, I would say a year or 2 maybe. Every day I'm thinking, putting stuff together. So I've been thinking really hard. Like everybody's asking me, what's your focus? I don't have a focus for this show. It's going to be whatever the topic is, whatever you want to talk about, whoever wants to come and talk with me. I'm just basically critiquing my skills as a journalist and as a journalism student. So, hopefully it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, it's a resume build up for me. So hopefully y'all like the show. Hopefully y'all subscribe and keep watching my episodes. So we about to dive right in. Let's just dive into the topic. So my first question for you, Victoria, well, both of y'all, while being a college student, working in retail, were you full-time or part-time?
So I attended classes at Tri-C while I was working in retail. I worked part-time at Marks, but I attended full-time at Cuyahoga Community College.
So I was going to school full-time, working at Marks part-time, all 4 years.
Mm-hmm. So what made you apply for a job in retail?
So I got out of high school and my mom was like, you got to find a job. So I applied to Marks and, they called me a couple of days later and interviewed with a manager and got the call a few days later and was like, you're hired. So I was there for 4 long years.
I was actually in between schools the summer of 2017, coming out of high school and then attending another community college. I was looking around for a job and I called Victoria and she told me that her job was hiring, so I just took the application and the rest is history.
Yeah, same with me. I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch and the pay there was terrible and I thought I would find better at Marks. I was wrong. It was a little better but not much, but we'll talk about that later. So I went looking for a job and they were hiring. I had a resume and they were turned on by that. They've never seen anybody come in with a resume. So they were like, oh yeah, you got a resume, you're hired. I'm like, okay. How would you say your feelings or your mood changed from when you first got hired to the day that you stopped working retail?
Well, my feelings toward retail definitely changed. It's very stressful for no reason. And I think Marquise can agree with me. Marks was challenging. I can honestly say that there were days I did not want to go to work at all. And now that I'm in my career now, even when I'm applying for jobs, I don't even want to do retail. I'm totally turned off by retail now.
So pretty much piggybacking off of what she said, with Marks being my first job ever, I was very enthusiastic, did everything right, followed all the rules, gave 110%. But once, I realized what I was getting paid, how they treated us, the last few months of working retail, I showed up to the property on time. I would not punch in until a half an hour late, 45 minutes sometimes. Yeah,
it's like that. It'll change you, but once we get deeper into it, I'll give more of my thought on that. Was there ever a time you felt stuck or trapped, working at the establishment because your position being a student, you wanted something better, you wanted a better job, but you couldn't do it because it was okay, I'm in school, this works for me right now, but I need more money, you know what I'm saying? When you're in school, you need money, books, room and board if you live on campus, food, all types of things. Transportation is expensive. So is there ever a time that you felt stuck working retail and you wanted to do something else, but you were just
all the time. As a college student, your schedule changes pretty much every 4 months or so. And working at a retail place like that, obviously they have flexible hours, so they can adjust your workload to your schedule. A lot of companies won't do that, so I feel like that was me being stuck at Mark's. Like, hey, not too many jobs are going to work with me being a full-time student and work around my schedule. So
Right. Yeah. A lot of jobs won't even hire you, honestly, if you're a college student, because they need you full time at their establishment. They don't need you putting in hours elsewhere. They want all your attention at the workplace, like at work. Like, if you're not giving them 100, they don't even want you. Like, what about you, Victoria?
Oh yeah, I definitely felt like I was stuck at Mark's. I was always trying to apply for jobs, but even with my school schedule, it was hard for me to go anywhere. But I would get interviews, but it wasn't a sure thing.
Yeah.
So
it's like you either had to turn it down or they didn't want you.
Exactly. And that was the most frustrating thing, especially when you're trying to leave. But,
oh yeah, that hurts. Like when you think you about to get out the door and you like, oh, I got a job interview, and then you be like, damn, it didn't work out.
Yep.
And then you just stuck back there again. Like, okay, so has there ever been a time you had to call off because of assignments, an exam, or you just fell behind in school? Like, it just felt like you were putting too much energy into work and not school, like, where that's most important, clearly, like.
So I had never called off in the 4 years that I worked at Mark's. I called off one time, and that was for a job interview. But I never called off from Mark's. I was always there, always on time, never had an issue.
Yeah.
So I want to say the entire time I was at Mark's, I called off maybe like three at the most. Like you said, it's just studying up late sometimes. Making room for exams, because exams are like afternoon. So sometimes you have to just call off from Mark's. But when I called off, it wasn't even for school. It was just mental health day.
Yeah.
Too much stress. Don't feel like talking to people. Don't feel like dealing with the toxic managers and the extra stuff.
Right. Okay, so let's dive deeper into the retail world, okay? Because managers, I swear, like, you would think that they were not human, or they act like they're not human. Like, they act like it's okay to come to work sick with pneumonia, a broke leg, a family member died. They don't care. And the way they just talk to you, like, and they expect so much of you, and you're not even getting paid that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But have respect for me, make me feel like you want me to work here. So how many times have you felt disrespected by a manager, or like just give a scenario of a time like you felt disrespected by a manager from when you worked in retail?
I would say it was more so felt unappreciated when, especially when you're doing XYZ. So prime example, you would understand doing customer service, supervising, making sure the store is straightened by the end of the night, all these responsibilities, training people who are supposed to be managers, and we're at customer service. So we're doing all these responsibilities, and you're asking the managers, hey, can I get a raise for what I'm doing? I'm doing all this work. And they're like, oh, well, I can only offer you a quarter. But they're like, oh, they think like 35 cents is a good raise. But it's like,
it's not.
We're working part-time hours. Like, we can't live off of this.
Yeah, I remember when they told me, they was like, oh, yeah, Andrea, I like the way you've been working. We gave you a raise. Did you see it? I'm like, barely. I barely saw it.
You saw that 10 cent, right? Yeah.
I barely saw it. I saw no difference. What about you, Marquise?
Can I tell my story?
Go ahead.
Okay, so one time I felt that I was disrespected by a manager. I felt I was disrespected by a manager. So we're going to call him Bob. So Bob worked early morning to closing, and one day I came in, I want to say it was Saturday, someone had defecated on the toilet. So as a stock guy, that's not my job, that's technically the manager's job. And then come to find out, after I clocked in, he told me he had an assignment for me, told me to clean up, the paint off the toilet. And I said, I'm not doing that because, for one, that's not my job, and I was complaining to another coworker, and he revealed to me that someone defecated on the toilet at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I punched in at 5. So it was there for
It was sitting there
for 4 hours.
Sitting there waiting for you.
And Bob told me to clean it up. I said, I'm not doing that. That's your job.
And I know exactly what manager you're talking about. Because a customer threw up right in the candy aisle. And instead of him cleaning it up, because he saw it first and he wasn't doing anything, absolutely nothing. He told me to page someone to come clean the throw up. He was right there next to it. He stopped this stock person from actually working, like stocking, making sure everything was right for the produce section to come clean up throw up that he could have did, and he was doing nothing. So yeah, that's so has there ever been a time where you had to leave work or because you were sick, or you had to call off because of an emergency and a manager just still tried to get you to finish like your shift?
I never really left early. If I was sick, I would, I just want to come in. But even then, I just didn't get sick in between that time very often. And I did get sent home for not cleaning up the toilet that one day with Bob. But Bob did get in trouble for it. He got written up because it wasn't my job; it was his job. And then it had been there an entire shift early, and he tried to put it on me, and I felt disrespected.
Yeah.
So I stood on what I stood, and I said, "I'm leaving. Like, either you gonna clean up or I'm going home." He gave me an ultimatum, and I went home.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
What about you?
So I never had to leave work early. I came in one day not feeling well, had an allergic reaction to something, and the manager closing that night, he would not let me leave. He told me, just go down to the break room, try to, take some Benadryl, get myself together,
and then you
just
would pass out on the floor because Benadryl makes you drowsy.
No, I made it through the night,
and they would step right over you if you passed out on the floor.
Yeah, I made it through the night though, but I didn't get to go home early, unfortunately.
See,
I wanted to.
And that sucks because then you have to decide what's more important. Like, okay, I need this money because you need some money in your pocket when you're in college. Like, you need to eat, you need to pay little bills that you have. It could be a credit card,
car note.
Because working in retail, you'll be saving 2 checks to pay rent. I don't know how people live off of that. Like, I really don't. Like, thankful for my mother that I did not have to pay rent while going to college and working retail, because I've talked with coworkers and they had to save 2 checks to pay rent. So that's another thing. Save your money. Just save your money.
I'll never forget just that you having your $200 checks and then you using half of it to buy books for school. I will never forget those days.
$200 checks.
Yes.
I don't know when you would see 500 in there, probably around the holidays.
In the summertime.
You know what's crazy?
Summertime and holidays.
I've never made more than $500 on one check in March.
Really?
The entire time. One time I came close, it was like $475, but besides that, I've never made more than $500 in March.
I think the highest check I made was $490. No, I made $514 one time. That was the highest I ever.
Yeah, I think mine was like $566.
That's crazy.
Oh.
I think something like that.
Oh, you must.
That's when I just started working.
You must have been doing some shit. Okay, because I've never seen it. So, do you feel like the amount of work that you did matched with the pay?
No.
For $850, no. Literally breaking your back, lifting heavy boxes of waters, pushing the carts. One time we had to push carts in a snowstorm. It's 3 inches of snow. It's like 12 o'clock midnight. And
don't even talk about the late nights.
It got so bad. My mom hopped out of her car to push a few carts. I said, "Mom, just go home. Like, I'm not getting paid enough. You're for sure not getting paid.
Right.
You might as well just go home right
now." Oh my God.
I said, look, I want to punch out this country here. So
that is funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What about you, Victoria?
Well, I'm sorry. Say the question one more time.
Do you feel like the amount of work you did matched your pay?
No, not at all. Because like I said, being at customer service, training managers in training, doing the supervising, cashiering, they don't pay you enough for that mess.
They don't.
No.
They don't. I remember one time a manager told me she didn't even get paid enough. She told me she wanted to quit and go be a Home Depot supervisor because she was not making.
Damn.
So if the people that are above you aren't making them like, it's just
is that real?
It's crazy. So why do y'all think that managers that employees like, customers like, just well-liked managers don't get promoted or they don't last that long in the company? Like, they promote the managers and they respect the managers that nobody likes. Like, why do y'all think that is? Or they either get transferred. The good managers that people like, they get transferred. What do you think?
I know you're talking about. He got kicked out. He got get dirty. But I would say it takes a level of like brown nosing, for the lack of a better word, brown nosing. To move up in a company like that, especially with everything being close knit. At the same time, the managers who are not liked are sometimes willing to make the best business moves in a sense. They're not, they're not afraid to cut their, to wash their hands with certain people, to fire certain people, to hire the right people and put them in place. But I mean, just, it's corporate America, real small company. Everyone knows everyone. It's all about who's going to be friends with the guy in charge, right?
Yeah, with the higher up. Because I know, like I said, managers, they act like they're not human. I had a manager that he was a manager in training, and I was training him. I'm only a supervisor and a customer service person. If I'm training you to be a manager, then I should be getting manager pay. Or not manager pay, but I should be getting paid a little more.
Yep.
So it's like they didn't like him because he was super nice. He was well liked. He was only there for a week, and I was pregnant in 2017 with my daughter, and I hadn't had a break. Like, I had, you know how they are about breaks and stuff. Like, I didn't have a break or anything. And he was like, "You didn't have a break yet?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "You were pregnant. You need to eat." And I'm like, "That's okay. I gotta train you." He's like, "No, I can manage. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, go take a break." And I'm like, "Wow, you really care." Like, cause they didn't care that I'm pregnant and that I need to. They're just happy that I know what I'm doing up there. They want somebody that knows what they're doing up there. They're more in the benefit of the company. Like, if you a good worker and you fast paced, they like that. They don't care. They don't want you to sit down, because if they got to replace you, somebody else, you know how it used to be, like they'll call somebody else to come up to customer service and work it, and they're not going to move as fast as somebody that knows what they're doing. So fast forward, they were pissed because he was up there by himself, and one of the managers had to come up there. Managers are usually sitting in the back in the office, chilling, not doing anything, talking about
stocking,
or talking about
the employees.
The employees, yeah. And they, I told him, like, he just couldn't believe it, like how rude they were about it, and he needed to leave one time early. He said his feet were hurting. So he was like, "I need to leave." And then the manager was like, "My feet hurt all the time. Like, you don't see us leaving." Like, we don't know what type of problem he had, where he had to, you know what I'm saying? No compassion. Like, they just talked about him. Like, my one manager said, if he didn't have those cheap ass polo shoes on, then maybe he could work a shift. And I'm just like, wow.
I pay him more. Let him get some Gucci slides.
Exactly. Right.
Do something to make him feel comfortable.
Right.
He's new to the company. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This man, he was a. I feel like he would have been an excellent manager for her. Anyways, he ended up quitting because he said, "I would rather." That was how he felt. He said he would rather be jobless than to work in a place where people are talking about each other, no compassion for each other. And he had 5 kids and a wife, so he must have been really strong on that. So, he was a cool dude, though. I hate that he didn't last long. So, what do y'all miss about working in retail?
I would say working with you all, we had plenty of good times. I feel like being in Marks, it's like being in high school again with each other. Just coming together, kicking it, laughing, talking jokes, talking about the managers, eating the food there. I feel like that was,
That's the thing, though. You miss the people you work with. Like, people don't leave a job. They don't leave a job. They leave the bad employees, the bad managers, and all of that. Like, you got to make people feel wanted when they work somewhere, because they act like they don't need you, but they do need you. You need people. It takes a village, like they say. They say it takes a village. Like, you need people to make your business run smoothly. Like, you don't want to keep hiring and hiring and hiring. As much as like a manager will tell you that. How many times have a manager said they will fire you or go home? They don't want you to go anywhere. They're not going to do anything. Like, as long as you're not stealing from the company, or stealing hours, stealing food, wherever you're working, like, they need you. Like, don't let them tell you they don't need you, because they do.
They need you more than they realize.
They do.
Well, more than you realize, they need you.
They do. So, Yeah, that was the purpose of this episode, though, to give people motivation, like that's working in retail, like we're going to school, because it's hard to find a balance between the two. Like, it's just like, what tips like would you give people? Like, it doesn't have to be all bad. Like, what's some pros that you got out of working?
So I would say lesson that you can learn from working in retail. Appreciate the uncomfortable environment, because it will push you to, it will make you pursue your dreams and go harder in your academics. If you get comfortable at a job, that's why people stay at a retail job, or a fry cook job at McDonald's. Different fries and degrees, flipping the burgers for for 20 plus years. They got comfortable. They got used to the routine. So if you're working retail and you're a college student, I would say appreciate the uncomfortable setting and never lose sight of your end goal.
What motivation or like tips or pros like would you give? Because we talked about some negative stuff here. Like, we talked about some bad stuff. Like, what pros would you say like you got from working retail, or that you could take into your career now? Like, you're established, you have a degree. What would you?
I would say, yeah, definitely, stay humble, stay in school. You're going to have some days where you want to give up, but, you can't give up, because, once you get that degree,
it's going to be worth it.
Exactly. And then, you never know what your career is going to be. And then, you got your degree. Sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Working retail definitely built a lot of character with me. Like, I definitely know how to come into a hard situation and maneuver out of it or deal with it. So, anything else that you would like to add?
Stay prayerful.
Yeah.
Stay prayerful.
Never settle for less.
The end result will be great.
Worth it.
Definitely, like, if you know you have a goal in the end, make the job work for you. Don't just kill yourself working a job. Make it work for you. Like, don't, like me, I wasn't managing my money right when I was working retail. And when you work in retail and going to college, and if you're lucky enough to live somewhere where you don't have to pay rent, make that work for you. Like, don't spend your checks on going to the mall, buying crazy stuff that you don't need or that you won't be able to fit in the next year or so. Like, make investments. That's what I would do. Make investments. Save your checks. Split it in half. Like, put some, like, what I'm saying, like, divide your checks up. Like, okay, this is my money for food, and then this is what I'm going to do by saving. Like, even when you I was taught by a banker, like because even in school they don't even teach you this much. Like, they don't teach you how to invest and save, and like what we should know. Like, a banker had told me, I don't know if a lot of people know this, like, when you look at the dollar bill or any money, like, you see his letters and stuff on it. Like, they was like, whatever letter you see, like, if it's like your name starts with a V, if you see a V on the bill that you have, put that to the side and save it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, if it's a letter, like, if my name starts with an A, if it's an A on the dollar bill, put it to the side and save it. That little money that you're working so hard for, you might as well just save it. You shouldn't even waste it on buying clothes that you won't fit in the next year because you think it's cute. Like, food, okay, of course. Just make sure you prioritize things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
money set, strategize,
prioritize.
So this concludes our first episode of the Dosage of Drea show, episode 1. Thank you all so much for watching. You can like, comment, subscribe. No negative comments, because any negativity will be blocked.